Yes, indeed, a new dawning, a new dawning.
Hey.
Thank you for being here with us this morning. Very cool and chilly Sunday morning here in Edmonton. Welcome to the folks in Radioland on my radio 580 AM and all of those who are joining us in Facebook land on our live stream. We want to welcome you to Let's Unpack That with Redefine Wellness. And this morning, of course, I'm Alric Reed in the house with Latoya, the fire starter. And we have a very special guest with us this morning, Miss Lisa Dublin.
Yay.
Let us shout her out. There we go. And Lisa is the founder of Speak with Confidence. Awesome program. Awesome reviews. But she's also an author, a life coach, and a mentor, right? And we like in this space to give our guests the opportunity to toot their own horns.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So we'll turn over to you, Lisa, to share your awesomeness with our guests.
Thank you, Alric and Latoya. And I have to say, before I say anything, I saw this moment many years ago when you guys walked into Think, and I saw your passion and your energy, and I was like, that couple, they're going to be going very far. So absolutely, this is just the beginning, and I absolutely mean it, and I'm right. Right there, here we are on your own radio show already. Like, wow.
Thank you.
So my name is Lisa Dublin, originally from St. Lucia in the Caribbean. I've been here living with my family in Canada since 2013. I'm a life coach and a speaking coach, and I'm also a speaker. So I made the move in 2022, I believe it was, that I was just going to not go back to the office after how many years here. And you know, so far it's been very interesting. It's way more fulfilling. Just doing what I'm called to do, as opposed to what I was doing, basically just pushing people in the office. Right? And so I go about teaching people how to speak with confidence and authenticity. And that's not just our Black community. It's everybody who has this problem of not being able to stand before a mic and being so deathly afraid of it that there's even this statistic that people are more afraid of public speaking than they are being placed in a coffin. Like how?
Yeah.
And I could see it happening, except that when you have practitioners like me who can teach it in a way that it becomes doable.
Very practical, right?
Very practical. And that over time you build that confidence muscle and you learn how to stand before people, because it's not about performance, it's about having conversations. So that's what I do. We do have an upcoming program starting on Tuesday, actually. We still have a couple spots, so if anybody's interested, let me just put that in there.
Yes.
It's a 6-week program. It's in person for the first time. And Latoya, you know, I'm sure that both of you know the power of in person.
Yeah,
Right.
We
exactly.
It's funny, last night, there's so many wonderful things that you have said that makes me go, oh, ooh. And it's one, I like the fact that you have shared about your journey in living a more fulfilling life by going for your passion. Because I think that is so important, especially regarding the topic that we're going to be talking about today. But I'm also find it quite interesting that you're speaking about, you know, public speaking and the terrors that come with that. Because, yes, we know that the adults have that public speaking issue, but there are so many young people who have this anxiety in going up and speaking. And for me, I know I have children who've passed through the system and they've had to make presentations. My daughter has been making presentations since she's been 5 or so in the school system. But now that she's transitioned to high school, here she is having jitters about speaking publicly.
Yeah.
Right? Can you imagine? So welcome, Lisa. Thank you for the warm introduction, Alric. you could have made us feel like we're in a safe haven by not mentioning the chili part.
Well, it's upon us,
It's
right?
a little bit, right?
It's upon us, so we have to. We have to get
October.
ready, right?
Yeah.
It's October.
Yeah.
The chills are coming in, and we have to start getting dressed for that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be a very cold winter.
I think so,
like,
too.
Let's see
Right.
what happens.
Well, that's why we're going to have the warmth of in-person
Yes,
sessions
yes,
with Lisa.
indeed.
Well, why do we have her here?
So, of course, Lisa's expertise in helping people to speak up, use their voice
Yes.
in very constructive ways, right? And have that confidence to do so. And so today we're going to be speaking about reclaiming your voice in the workplace, because there's a lot that's happening in workplaces where individuals sometimes feel as if they're not able to be their authentic selves, first and foremost, but also the fact that there's a lot of workplace harassment that happens. There are a lot of people who have had to take leave from work because of stress, stuff like that. And of course, because of the way that we run the show, which is that we bring things to the fore that a lot of people are afraid to talk about, right? Yeah. And so today we're going to put that on the table. So for folks in Radioland and on Facebook, feel free to comment, to call in, to talk to us about your experiences as we unpack this topic.
Yeah. So Lisa, in your work as a life coach, a speaking coach, how common is it for you to get clients who have experienced toxicity in the workspace, discrimination in the workspace, and just being very terror-stricken in returning or being in the space?
Yeah. I think it's very prevalent right now, Latoya, and to tell you the truth, I think perhaps one of the reasons that I'm here today speaking about this is because I've begun to speak about it out there on social media. Why? Because these are the people who are coming into my coaching practice now. Almost trauma. I'm a coach, so I'm not a therapist. As you well know, a coach takes you from good to great.
Yeah.
So if there are like deeply underlying issues that need to be fixed foundational, you'd want to see a therapist who'll go back into time with you and try to fix. But I take you from good to great. And lately I've been getting a lot of executives, a lot of managers and people of that ilk who are thoroughly, oh my goodness, I have my dream job, but it's not the dream environment. And I coach a lot of immigrants, not just in Canada, but all over the world. And just to give one example of somebody I coached about 2 years ago, and this was an immigrant who'd done very well in the UK, to the point where she was the only female black engineer in her department in this huge company.
Wow.
And she was faced with having to deal with snarky emails from a colleague instead of being the work that she was hired to do, which was for her mind and for her ideas. It was reduced to dealing with an employee, another colleague being very jealous of her, and pointing out the pettiest things, even going through her subordinates to speak to her, so she had to deal with that. So those kinds of things create a lot of tension. They keep you preoccupied with the little things instead of doing the big work that you were hired to do. And when she came, this girl was at the point where she was broken. Like, she was at the point of giving up, but she had worked all of these years to get to that point. So we decided, okay, let's give it a try for 6 months. I worked with her for 6 months. Well, no, it actually turned into almost 2 years, because we moved on. When we solved that problem, we went on to other things. But here's the thing. So first thing was to go to your allies. She had allies within the company. And so she respectfully approached them and told them what was going on. Sometimes your allies themselves will be quiet because they don't want to rock the boat.
That's true.
That right? They don't want to rock the boat.
Is that where the betrayal comes in?
Well, yeah, it is. It's betrayal if you expect them to be on your side.
With so many of them, the word ally becomes a problem. Right?
Exactly. You're very right. In other words, there is that expectation that if you are an ally, you are going to be on my side. You are absolutely correct. And
Your camera is right there.
Oh,
that's your
camera.
Right.
Right here. Okay, yeah. So I need to look into it. I guess I'm having so much of a conversation. That's what it is. My apology. Good catch, girl. Oh my goodness. Good catch. Wow, I like that. We're having it's not performance, it's conversation. Okay, so no problem. And so what happened was that we began to work together. And I think a lot of people who are going through this kind of workplace harassment, they tend to think that they're isolated. They do not have support, and that makes it all the worse. It makes it worse because you feel like you're the only one.
Yes.
So one of the things I've done in my practice is to be able, with permission, to connect those people who are going through. So you have peace
similar thought
through the process. That's part of it, right? And so we did a couple things. The allies, yes. And then she began, to advocate for herself because she was going to slink away like she had done something wrong. And I was like, no, you're not going to do that. So we began to the point where she advocated so well that they moved her from the UK to Saudi Arabia to manage her own team. And we were like, yes, we got it. It's great. It's awesome. Except that when she got there, it's almost like they threw her out into the Gaza
ocean. Yeah.
On her own, sink or swim.
Wow.
She faced worse.
Wow.
She faced worse, and to the point where it got very cliquish. She came upon, it was especially one person who targeted her and turned the entire team against her. Again, she was the only black female person in there, of that ilk and whatever. And so it was very difficult, even though she was managing the team and she was the director and all of the things. It got very unsafe.
Wow.
So she escalated. She went higher because the company does provide for, for you to do the anonymous whistleblowing and that kind of thing. When she did that, then it got very serious and they took steps against the person who was really harassing her in the workplace. Guess what happened? She didn't get to stay there. So now they've moved her to Canada. So she's in Canada, and here it is better.
Okay.
Here it's better. Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yippee so because I think there are more controls and a lot more that she can access. And so, like, when I see situations like that, the first thing that I say to people is that you are not alone. As much as possible, get help, get support. Make a plan, okay? And figure out, some people get there, it is your dream job. This is what you wanted.
Yes.
And very recently, just speaking to a lot of immigrant Canadians who I work with, I've come upon this realization, and I don't say it very lightly. I believe that some of what we face as people of color in the workplace, it's meant to drive us out. And you know why? To return to what was.
So it's the resistance.
Yes, it's resistance. It's like, you know what? You don't belong. So we'll push you out so we can just breathe a sigh of relief. The black person's gone. The person of color, the immigrant's gone. We can just return to when it was just us. But this is just us. And I think it begins, first of all, with, do you want this job? That's the first question I ask somebody. Do you want this job? Because if you want this job, there's a mindset that says, I'm pitching my tent here, I'm spreading out my blanket, I'm going to dig in for the long haul. Let's see who ends. Let's see who's going to play this kind of game. And you do that with support, you do that with strategy, you do that with the law. You also do that with creating an entire support system away from the workplace.
Okay, so I love that success story, or that story of, I don't like to use the word resilience, so I'm not going to use resilience. I'm going to see a story, an experience of buoyancy, being able to come back despite the rigors that are associated with the roles that we're in. But I want us to explore a little bit a different reality, because we as a therapist, our nervous systems do respond to stuff. And as somebody who have stuck my heels in, Lisa, and who told myself, well, you're not going to get me out. You're going to be tired to see my face. We have to also talk about the impact of these experiences. Because lots of times there is the impact on our health. There is the impact on our family relationships. we find that our identities are being questioned. There are so many fallouts. And yes, I was on a workshop yesterday with Dr. Telma, and she spoke about us being in survival mode for so long that we've adapted to this. And so we get all these physical symptoms, physiological symptoms that tear us apart, and we're still sticking our heels in. So when do we know how, especially when we don't have support? Because my husband and I had no support, so we were rolling stones all by ourselves. And so when we moved here to Edmonton, we were already quite battered. We were quite mistrustful. We were already feeling like, oh my God, my husband said to me all the time, I'm an introvert. I'm like, no, you're not. And then I took on this ideology that I'm an introvert. I'm like, no, I'm not. And so we started recognizing how afraid we were with interacting, because I'm mindful that you're talking about racial discrimination, but there are also folks that I've seen in my therapy practice who've been harmed by kinfolks as well. And that harm tends to be a deeper cut than before. So what are some of the symptoms that folks should be looking for as they're trying to dig in? Should they anticipate as possible reactions or possible nervous system responses that we probably need to be paying attention to?
From what I've seen, and my practice is it's limited to what I've seen, but let's start with what I've experienced as well. I used to be in the workplace. I used to work at the University of Alberta, and the last couple years of my stint there, I worked with someone, she was like on the same tier as I in the office. But those kind of cowgirl in the office, your rule is it's your domain,
it's your place,
right?
Yes.
So I would remember before 8 o'clock, heart palpitations when I saw an email from this woman.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, my goodness. Like, what did I do wrong this time? And this was just mid-level administration at the university, so I didn't have like a top job or anything. Top of my grade, yes, but it was still like mid-level leadership. And she would send the meanest of emails, and even this is what triggered me. And I was like, why am I even triggered by this? Putting like triple question marks, all of this. I went to my supervisor. I'm like, this is not necessary. Please tell her to put one question mark.
Or educate the folks out there where they will tag 1 million people on the email that they send you.
Oh yeah, they do that. So you tag everybody. Yes, no problem. So you tag them back. You tag everybody right back. You tag everybody right back. Everybody right back. Everybody right back. Right back at them. You have to. So it actually is. It does create stress.
I appreciate you validating that, Lisa, because I remember when so if I should share my own experience, and Alric, I know you have your own experience as well. With the women are overpowering you.
No, that's okay. I love this conversation. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Won't be sending 3 question marks.
But you know what though? It speaks to the gender roles also in the workspace, right? Because Alric doesn't have so many experiences. He was quite beloved in his work. Yes, he has some experiences which he can share. But Alric is always quite beloved. Whatever.
Why? that should be interrogated. Why? It's a good question to ask. Like, how do you get along? That's a question right there.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
That's actually
But I remember when I moved to Saskatoon after our son was racialized, we moved to Saskatoon. And I was working in the medical, we transferred to work in the hospital setting because that was my area. And there was this, when I went into the space, I was the only Black woman in the space. It was social workers and whatever. And they were like high school mean girls. Like, honestly, the cliquing, the chatting, the whatever. And I remember I did a job. And if anybody knows anything about me, I'm very detail oriented. So I did the job, and, big up to Regina. We were way ahead of the game, so I knew everything that was supposed to happen. But I got there, and I felt as though I was being asked to prove myself all over again. And I remember leaving everything because this was my specialty. So I left the notes. I was covering for somebody. I was in a casual role at the time. So I was covering for somebody and then left and went to another hospital. And the supervisor, whom I was very communicative with, sent me an email when I was at a different hospital, copying everybody and talking about how I had done my job poorly. Copying all the superior.
Such aggression.
Yeah.
Now, I think what happens is because I tend to fly low, people think they can mess. So I think what happened is when you come for a black woman who is very keen on her job and the integrity that comes with the value that we bring to the space, I think it justifies us reacting. And so very eloquently, I responded to the email and I copied every email I'd sent. I said, if you had looked through this, you would have found this. And I made sure to lay it out to her. Now, she didn't call me before to tell me that she had a problem. We're going to go to a break in less than a minute. However, the long and short is, I'm working in the hospital. I'm getting paged. And I'm getting called to come to the phone. This was the woman now apologizing to me in privacy.
In private.
Oh, no.
Not via email, in privacy. I said, girl,
reply to all. Reply to all. Thank you so much.
So, thank you. So
as Greg said, this is like a corporate Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it is. But we have to,
It's crazy that she was public with the berating,
that's how it
but
always
very
happens.
private with the apologizing, right? And we'll come back right after. And so we're back. Thank you so much for returning to us after the break, of course. These ladies are on fire.
Is that good for don't talk too much?
No.
We're having too much fun, right?
Yes, indeed. And it's good to see. It's a good thing.
Yes.
You know? So just before the break, we were talking about
the symptoms.
Right? And of course, the corporate Game of Thrones piece where, everybody
I haven't watched Game of Thrones, by the way. Thank you, Greg.
Well, you know what?
Either.
We haven't either, but I'm aware of the storyline because a lot of people talk about it. And I mean, I guess we are in a very special place. As I say, people who have not seen Game of Thrones with all of the talk about Game of Thrones.
We're pure, we're pure. We're pure, I'm telling you.
Anyway, let's not get off topic. Because there are so many iconic movies that I haven't seen. Let's go with the flow.
But there it is.
We haven't, I was telling Alric I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but
But it's very important to come back to the piece that you spoke about, Lisa, where we have individuals, and I've experienced it too, where you're going into work and all that feeling of anxiety starts pouring over you because there are situations at work and they're not tied to the core job that you're there, not your core responsibilities. It's about the environment that's being created for you. And sometimes you dread going into the space in order to do that work. Right? And so I want to come back to the piece because a lot of people sometimes lose their voices in those situations, right? And so, and let's speak from my point of view because coming from Jamaica, if anyone in Jamaica that knows me will tell you that, hey, he'll get on a stage, he'll get up, he'll speak
absolutely
boldly, proudly, without prompting. And I've found that I've gotten to a place now where sometimes I second guess myself before even wanting to speak. Right? Especially when in certain environments in which I'm being asked to shrink in order for other people to be seen.
Not even now?
No, well, not so much now, but that has happened in the past. I'm slowly getting out of my shell. As Latoya said, it took us a year before we actually started integrating into this community.
You are longer.
Right? Me was about 1.5 to 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? Where,
Not fully 2 years.
right?
But
Where basically I just wanted to be home.
Right.
I'd been burnt so many times by this system that I just wanted to be home.
Yeah.
Imagine having to go into work where that's now your livelihood.
Yeah, where you have to park, you compartmentalize. Yeah. So that is the suppression of the nervous system, right? So I want us to go into the symptoms.
Yes, and more of the symptoms.
The symptoms. And I because I have a clinical lens, I want to share two experiences similar to what you shared. Not from me. Specific clients. I had one client who came to me just the other day. And she said to me, I have had my therapist for quite a number of years. I've had a separate therapist. I'm coming to you because I'm looking for somebody who's able to understand workplace discrimination. And she spoke, the lady was very eloquent in English.
Oh, yeah.
She's a communication specialist. And she's there, and I'm admiring her in the consult. And at the same time, she is apologizing for how she shows up in the space. The imposter syndrome, the self-doubt, the worries about how she shows up. These are true manifestations. And I remember a few months ago, I was on this very show, and a client connected with me from this show because of the brutality that she experienced in the workspace. The ways in which it shows up. She was the only black woman in her space. Nobody knew anything about her. So she was very mysterious. She did her job very well. And I think when folks didn't fully understand her history and her context, the manager was in cahoots with the other workers to give this woman a false document to sign, giving her past and medical history.
Ooh.
Then this information was shared in her circle, and not in the circle, but outside her circle, her personal, but shared with co-workers who were now making snide remarks about her
medical
history.
Which that was false.
And the ombudsman found it to be wrong, but she works in such a body, an organization that intimidated the hell out of her. And so this woman is broken, her family is broken, and trying to pick up the pieces
after
and going back into a work experience that has burnt her so badly becomes the order of the day.
Yeah. Okay, so where we're going in terms of the symptoms still? Okay, because
Or
that one
anywhere you
seems-
want to go.
No, this
Anywhere.
is because I'm thinking like this is the last straw, right? How do you know? Everybody always asks the question: how do you know when it's time? If it's time to get out? If you can't function?
Yeah.
But don't give. I always say don't give up without trying, without a fight. Some people you can't function the minute you get there. Your physical symptoms manifest. You cannot function in the workplace. I have no less than 2 or 3 clients right now who are literally have taken mental health breaks.
Yes.
And you know, like the perpetrators in the office are still doing what they do,
Yeah.
and you who have tried to make a difference and got penalized and victimized for it, you are out. Yes, you're still getting paid, but you know the loss of meaning
Yes.
for work, that's what you're experiencing
Thank
right
you for
now.
that. Thank
So
you,
that's part of
Lisa.
it. That's part of it. But and you know, this next opinion is not going to be very popular. But when I first came to Canada and I got my first job in an office, I was the person who did all the right work. I could push through applications like
Yes.
nobody's business. But I didn't get along. I didn't get along. We come from, I think, in the Caribbean, perhaps also in our motherland, Africa, we come from survival. So the way that we do things, we privilege performance over relationship. And like, it's hard to say, why do I need to be known? Why do I need to speak to you when you're not doing your work? And that was my problem. There was this darling in the office She was the darling because she could get along, but she never did any work.
Yeah.
Like 2 days before every holiday, she took leave. And guess who got the brunt of it? Because I was the worker me. And I'm the first child, right? So I know about having siblings who will leave everything on you. And I think I brought that in, like, I'm just waiting for it. I know she's going to take the thing. And she did every single time. So I faced that kind of thing. And then my supervisor, who's very nice, we still speak, she called me into the office one day and she very nicely said to me, you know what? You know, in this society, like at work here, we can teach you how to do the work, but we'd love somebody who could get along. And everything in me rose up. Everything in me, like, who are you to tell me that? And why do I need to get along with lazy people? I'm doing the job. What else do you want? Okay.
Yeah.
I happen to be blessed. I have an uncle who's an executive coach in the UK. He's been in the system for a very long time. So I went venting to him on my lunch hour. Okay, and he's like, "You can't win this." He said, first of all, go buy this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You need to read that book, number one.
Yeah.
And then he said, settle down, think about what you're doing and how you can make this better and make this work for you, because ultimately you need a job. Number one. Right? That's the first thing. So
that's a strong point.
It is. And so this is the counter to we are being victimized. This is the counter. That do you have a responsibility to be known or not? Like, how do you even answer that question? For me, I'm a strategist. I will do what it takes to get the results that I want, barring like losing my values and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying to you, Latoya, earlier on, that he who has a business must learn to smile. I'm introverted. Like, I could stay in my basement all day, whole day.
Yeah.
How do I run a business, however, from my basement if I don't go out and meet people? And so for me, even in the workplace, I realized the two things need to go together: performance and being able to get along, even with people who are racist, even with people who don't like you and you don't like, even when things are not going your way. If you can get along, the bigger picture is, I will get what I want from this place, right? The last thing I want to say and hand it over, I used to live in a condo. We used to live in a condo, and there was a Grenadian lady there. She owned her condo in that compound. And she's been here since the 1970s. And this lady said to me, when she first came to the condo, people threw eggs on the facade outside. People, all sorts of racist things happened to her from the 1970s. But it was her condo, and she's like, this is my place. Right now, she has survived. People have come and gone around her, and she's still standing. She's still there in her condo. I still go back to visit her. Why am I bringing this up? Because there's a point at which, if you want this job and you can stick it out, let's work together. Just stick it out. I'm not saying when it gets to the point where it is unmanageable, it affects your health and it's taking away from your quality of life and even your just living, then you need to get out. But for me, I try everything before I give up in these spaces, because ultimately that lady in the condo just made me realize you can win. You can win. Nobody's throwing eggs at her anymore. No, that's dealt with. Condo board stepped in. It was hard for a bit, but her condo is hers in a place, and of course the value has gone up in the condo, so she's enjoying life. Right? So I guess I'm saying that there are so many gray areas. You have to decide where you find yourself.
I love that. I love that, because I want you to bring in for me how sometimes it is almost impossible to get along in the workspace.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're being faced with vitriol. So it's not an imagined victimization or pathologization.
Nope.
But I like how you're solution focused. I like that mindset, because then it speaks to the collective, creating your support system, because sometimes your support may not be in the work, and the context of the Canadian
landscape
and the work environment is, and we've seen it in research, numerous research that have spoken about quantity over quality. There's an over focus on how much work do we do to prove that we are necessary, or we have been valued. We're valued in the workspace, versus being able to show up and take a holiday like Betty, take a mental health break, and all of these pieces, because some of us are also coming from the culture where we're told we need to work 10 times harder, we need to be 10 times better than the other person in order to be seen and valued. And we know that because the reality is, when COVID came, even though we had black women, black staff being the most, being very hardworking, those were the staff who were cut first. We are seeing it in the U.S., where over 700,000 number of women black women lost their job, which are indicators of an economic downturn. So when we recognize all of the variables that are
and we're gonna come
play,
back right after this. So yes, bad card can get us out of the race, Greg.
Tired.
Thank you for that for that selection. Tired to see your face. But Latoya, just before the break, you were talking about the woman that got let off and what that meant.
You know, I find that the breaks probably are more exciting. You don't have to overthink. I was saying that, 300,000 women, according to the Forbes magazine, in the U.S., black women were laid off from their job this year, right? And we know that even during COVID, a lot of black women were targeted. We see also in our community here where we've talked about our black folks who are looking for jobs, and they're told, I had one person said to me, they said, if two of you walk in here to look for a job, none of you are going to get the job. So it has to be one of you. Like if they're going in pairs to look for a job, that is how we've been blacklisted in the job market as well. So if a black person gets into a certain role, it is not DEI hire. It is not. It is a hire where we are qualified for the job. So if we go in, Lisa, and we're qualified for the job and we're facing so many obstacles, there comes a point where we're going to stick our heels in, and we're going to reaffirm and reassert that we deserve the space like any other individual that occupies it. We deserve to be global citizens. But here's the reality. This is where community comes in. And I love, Lisa, we met you at a community event.
Oh, absolutely.
Which spoke to the healing of connecting outside, because sometimes you can't push water uphill. They're not interested in wanting to be friends with us. They're not interested to want to know anything about us. We're already homogenized. We're already stereotyped. We already have that stigma.
So then, if we are all of these, and okay, let's go a couple places. I always have a problem with the racialized tag. I think it's not just because I'm a life coach and I start with mindset always. But here's the thing: if I call myself racialized, you have won. Let me tell you why. I am looking at myself as you see me. And that gives you infinite power that no kind of physical action can ever erase. And I feel very strongly about this to the point where I've really researched it, because I'm like, that might be the reality, but I am not going to give you, this is akin to Malcolm X saying in the 1960s, do not refer to yourself as a Negro. Say black, say African American, but that is using the word that they have used for us, and you expect to win against them? How? How is it when if you're in somebody's head? Yes, if I am in your head, I have already won. And that's what marketing is about. That's what selling is about. It's about getting into people's head in a way that is so insidious sometimes that they can't get around it. So I call myself racialized. I already have the victimized lapels on my shoulder when I walk in, because I look at myself the way you see me. That's why we come across as aggressive, because I'm already ready for you, because I am racialized. What if I just come across as black, as Afro-Caribbean, as African American? I've heard people use the term equity, deserving. I don't even like it because I was already deserving. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I have nothing missing and nothing broken. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So I start with that mindset. And I do not walk into a room not knowing or looking at the world through rose-colored lenses. I walk in understanding that I am enough.
Yes.
And that
you belong.
I belong. Right? Whatever you say, you didn't make me and you do not get to label me. You just don't. I feel so strongly about that we need to take a second look at how we call ourselves and figure out whether we are using the labels that they want us to use on ourselves in an effort to start to dismantle our confidence even before we started to fight. So that's the first thing.
That's the constructive anger. I love it.
Thank you. I hope it's constructive. I was like, you know what? Calm down, Lisa. No, don't become angry.
You can be whatever you want to be right here.
Thank
We
you.
welcome it.
That's
Thank
your
you.
pocket.
And then let's talk about strategy. Strategy in the workplace and strategy outside of the workplace. So in terms of how do you win this? If you are being harassed, at the workplace, and you know there's a part of that harassment that is racial discrimination and that kind of thing, you have to be guided by the law. That same supervisor I was telling you about, she taught me a very Canadian lesson. Every time I'd come to her to ask a question about work, she would say, what do the procedures say?
Yes.
And I'd have to go back to it and figure out, okay, I found the things that I needed there. Am I doing them? Yes. You're in Canada. And I'm not saying that it's easy. Educate yourself.
Yes, educate yourself.
Yes, exactly. There, I was reading, is it the Canadian Human Rights Act?
Yes.
There's a lot there about discrimination and harassment. And I'm definitely not blaming us. If there's a way that if you love people that you approach them, so a lot of this is just because we are not liked. A lot of what we face is because the orientation is I do not like your kind. So, yes. Phenotypical presentation creates a problem. Go beyond that, though. What do the procedures say? What does the law say? Is this according to how I'm supposed to be treated? Question and question and question. Okay? And I know for some people it does create even more trouble. I'm not saying that at all. As I said, let's grade this on a continuum of how much you can take. And when it gets to too much, then you know it's time to get out. But by all means, don't go feeling racialized because you will show up and present racialized. These are some of the strategies in the workplace. And here's the other thing, and we're going right back to voice. And that's why a lot of those people, I coach them because they understand that there's something bigger than them. You are a professional in the workplace. You got hired for a reason. You're good at what you do. Most of the people I coach never have any problems with the work. They are bosses and they kill it. It's the relationships. Okay? So go where they can't touch you. You have LinkedIn, you have all sorts of places where you can present the thought work, the intellectual work that makes you who you are. It's very difficult to be able to harass somebody who has a voice that you cannot touch. Get into those spaces professionally where it does not depend on where you work and prove your mettle there and see how I was working with a client. And she's very outlandish and so on. And so she got a lot of flack in the workplace because of who she was. Now, this was not even racial. This was just a matter of personality and not fitting in. So we devised a strategy. Every single week she got on LinkedIn with an article. She did. That article, it garnered so many likes that even her boss began to take notice. Everybody quieted down though. Yeah.
That's how you show.
Go where they cannot touch you. Go. And I'm not saying you ignore the harassment, but I'm saying there are strategies for you to win. So
we're almost out of time.
Oh my goodness!
But I love it. It's all you're telling me, Lisa, is we got to have you back.
For sure.
But I love what you're saying as it relates to the radical acceptance piece, recognizing that the ethos of the world right now is one where we have to radically accept that this is where it's at. We don't have to be liked in order to be valued. I always say that to my kids. You can be respected and people don't like you. And so I appreciate that reminder today. And for the folks out there, if you're experiencing any form of discrimination, any form of ism, and we want to establish that this is not just from a racialized lens, because it's not just black people who get discriminated against or minoritized folks that gets discriminated against. It happens so frequently. For other issues. And so while we can't jump into all of that today, we have jumped into one aspect of it. So that's part one. I guess so. And so we are very grateful for those who joined us today on Let's Unpack That with Redefine Wellness. And
just before we wrap up though, because if people want to find you, Lisa,
so I'm on all the social media platforms. At Lisa M Dublin on Instagram. Also at Lisa Dublin, I think, on LinkedIn. And my website is lisamdublin.com. And, just DM me. We set up a consultation. We have a chat if that's what you want. So I'm like everywhere. And then I have my Basement Chronicles channel on YouTube. So it's the podcast, it's the live stream. I go live a little less often now. But, these are all the places to find me.
And she's not bragging enough because she forgot to tell you that she was also in the Womanition magazine. She's on page 74. Am I?
Yes.
Is it being
Is it
viewed?
big?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so she has a nice little spread on page 74. And so we are always celebrating our folks.
Oh my
when
goodness.
they are doing it.
Glamorous.
Thank you.
yes, indeed.
So thank you so much, Lisa, for coming in. Alric, I'll let you take us out.
Oh yeah, for sure. So coming up right after this is the Latin Hour with Miss Laura. Of course, G is back on Friday with Special K for the next 48. The Weekend Morning Show comes up on Saturday with G and Danny, and of course, we come back next week Sunday to unpack even some more things here on Let's
Right before
Unpack That.
Thanksgiving.
Right?
Yeah.
Right before Thanksgiving. So
to take us out, we'll pull up on Bob Marley.
Tired,
Draw my card.
As Greg's anthem this morning, eh?
Yes.